And what time is it, please?
5:04.
So,
Okay. We have a quorum. Before we start, we have to talk about reorganization. Elliot sent out a memo or an email with the current officers, which need to be either revoted or accepting nominations or any other questions or anything that people may have about the organization as it stands, which is I'm the chair, Kate's the vice chair, Ellie's the secretary, and Barbara is the treasurer, and Dawn is the assistant treasurer. Is that your role, Dawn? Is that your
I
official
believe
title?
so, yes. And I'm fine.
Okay. Okay.
Can we chime in here?
Sir.
Well, Dawn seems she's been doing more of the heavy lifting recently, and I would be happy to have her be the treasurer and I'd be the alternate.
Either way.
Okay. And how are you're okay with that, Dawn?
Yep, I'm okay with that.
Okay. Any other discussion or questions or comments on that particular position?
I make a motion that we accept that slate.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? All right. The motion is, been approved unanimously for Dawn to take over as the treasurer and Barbara doing the backup or vice assistant.
Do I have to count anything now?
Oh boy, here it goes. You know, you get
Well, it's Justin who does it all.
Yeah.
Right, Dawn?
And
Does
Jean
heavy
and
lifting.
Cheryl.
Yep.
okay.
Can I make a suggestion too, that you have all those colorful things in your office, Justin? Could you put a reminder on your next May one or every May one that we need to reorganize if it's after the annual town meeting? Because I completely forgot about it.
And you know what, Ellie, it should be me too. I should know that. Can you, I will make a note.
Well, I think Justin has all these nifty reminders in his office and he
Oh,
could
yeah.
put it
I
on
know, I
there,
feel
and
like,
then when
yeah.
the
On the
agenda goes out, then they'll
yearly
say, yeah,
clicker
see,
board.
there it is.
Nice.
So I've got trustee election on there, but I don't have trustee reorganization.
Yeah, no, that's important too.
Yeah. All right. Other.
It is done.
Excellent.
Oh, what happened to my little slate that I had? There we go.
Yeah.
Other. I'm sorry. I wait and then every time I go to talk, somebody talks. Other suggestions or nominations or anything to do with the reorganization? Hearing none, then I'll entertain a motion to accept the reorganization as noted, with Dawn taking over as the treasurer. And
I think we
Barbara.
already did all of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So just to say that we're moving to, voting on accepting the reorganization as stated. Does that make sense? Isn't it two different things where we're just, or is it just the one?
Well,
That was-
I don't know. I always get confused about the treasurer stuff if it's a treasurer and an assistant treasurer, but I couldn't figure out that name for the alternate signatory. Is that what
Alright.
it's officially called or is
That sounds good. That
I mean,
sounds
is
about,
what the way it's written here?
yeah, I think that sounds right.
Okay, so Dawn's the treasurer and Barbara's the alternate
Signatory.
signatory.
That sounds right.
Right.
That's pretty official.
It does sound official. It almost sounds like we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, right.
That's the official wording in
Oh.
the Mass Municipal Modernization Act law that was enacted.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
as long as that
And-
language is included, then Barbara can also sign payroll and vouchers.
Okay.
That
So,
in itself was a big significant change some years back when we didn't all have to sign it, remember?
oh my goodness gracious, yes. Oh my Lord. Yeah, for sure. So, I've lost track now with the sidebars. Are we all set with with the reorganization?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so we can move on. Okay. Minutes from June 2nd were received. Hopefully everyone has read them.
I think it was June 4th.
Oh, well, it says on here June 2nd. Oh, June 4th. On the agenda that I just saw, I swore it said June 2nd. Anyhow, never mind. Yeah, June 2nd.
Yeah, well, it's June
Okay.
4th.
Didn't say that at all.
Little phantom edit there.
Woo! I
Nobody-
must have dreamed it. Questions? Corrections? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes as submitted.
So moved.
Second? Do I have a second?
I would do, but I only read the minutes. I wasn't at the meeting.
I can second it.
Okay. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? All right. Minutes from June 4th have been accepted unanimously. Moving right down to the financial report.
So I did things a little bit different this time because I didn't have a lot of time yesterday. We've been interviewing people, and with the holidays, we're behind in everything. So instead of transcribing everything out and potentially making mistakes, I screenshotted directly from my software that I use, Newcache,
Mhm.
and eliminated page breaks in these documents so that we can just have these tables without them bleeding over into other pages. So the municipal account statuses, operations, when I prepared this yesterday, there was $3,062 left to finish out the fiscal year, which seems like a lot since there's only 5 days left in it that we're open. But that's old news now because today me and Jean sorted out the electricity credits with Con Edison Development. So now we have $1,191 left. And that should be plenty. So, it's kind of coming to a tidy conclusion. I asked for $2,000 last month to kind of help bridge the gap due to, accepting too many staff requests for goodies this year. And I'm going to need like a little bit more than half of that, not all of it.
Okay.
Are there any questions on operations before I go to personnel?
Mm-mm.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Personnel
Well,
is
yeah, I
like,
do. Can I go? Because this is my big thing is that financial stuff. And I have a hard time when you change the way you do everything and I just have to keep it the same way. And Justin knows this because I complain to him every month. And I understand your need here, but I'm hoping that I can use these numbers and plug it in the same way that I've been doing it. I know I'll have to do it again for the end of the year, the 5 days that are left after today or yesterday, or the 6 days that are left. And that's fine with me, but I just need to maintain a static format for stuff, or else I get all cuckoo with it. That's all. That's the way my mind works. So, but
you
if
need
I can,
consistency, and I hear you.
if you can assure me, Justin, that I can take all these numbers and figure them all out,
That's understandable.
because that's the largest part of my minute taking is trying to figure out the numbers, and then I'm so happy at
No,
the end of that
you're,
I.
yeah, I know.
So Justin, you're just sitting there. Give me some assurance that these numbers are going to be easy for me to figure out what's what.
Well, it's the same thing I put in the spreadsheet. It's just you've got the account trees included. So expenses, general, circulating materials.
Okay.
They're
All right.
actually broken down
Oh,
this
good.
way. And then, all of these other line items are down the tree: custodial supplies, dues and memberships. It just has the extra words in front of them because it shows shows what accounts they're coming from.
Yeah.
And if you need like a copy and pastable version of it, I can probably export it as a CSV tree or something to send to you.
No, as long as I can, I'm not going to do anything until the weekend before the next meeting, to write up the minutes. That's how I usually work. But I like to keep it sort of consistent in my mind, and I don't know if it helps all of you guys, but it does for me. If I see, how much is budgeted, how much is spent, and how much remaining, and the percentage of what's been used. That for me is nice. So
I can understand that, Ellie, and I can relate to that. But I also
I'm going
kind
to
of,
do it anyway. That's all. I'm just,
well,
and
I'm kind of
Justin,
adaptable, so I'm kind of reading here and I'm hoping I'm understanding it. But where you're transposing it and making it work in your head, I totally can understand where you're coming from.
now, do we have the, how much was put in for what was left over for, how much was spent on personnel?
Well,
And I
we can
don't
get
care
to
that
that.
I
That's
don't,
why I was waiting. I had a question on that, but go ahead.
oh, that was
Yeah,
over.
that was, yeah. So,
Yeah, and the only thing that bothers me here about the personnel being over budgeted is that in the back of my mind also is that all that over budgeted stuff goes back into the general fund, which gets spent at the fall town meeting or at another special town meeting or something like that.
right.
That's, and I don't think that's a proper way. I'm not criticizing you, Justin, at all. I'm criticizing the town that this should not happen, that uh, uh, you should budget it more within.
Elliot, I'm gonna step in for just a minute. So Justin can go through
Okay, go
what
ahead.
he's gone through.
Mhm.
We can get into a discussion when we get to personnel and that, okay? But let Justin finish with
Okay.
what he's doing. with,
Well, I mean,
we're
we're at
also,
personnel now. If no one has questions on operations.
no, I understand operations, but I'm down at personnel. My question is, because I'm reading this, you're saying there's a significant amount that's going to be turned back. What is the amount?
Blinking.
I can't,
It'll be 15,679 minus this next upcoming payroll,
which would be about what?
which will be around 6,000, I think, off the top of my head.
So we're looking at like maybe 9,000 something.
Enough to fund a capital project.
True, but there's nothing you can, and so now the question is, and we go back to the previous year's budget, which is figured out, we approve it, that you go with what Matt says should be personnel, right?
Mhm.
So just to say, Matt said, go with this amount, that amount got approved. Now we're sending back close to 10,000. So I'm not sure. I don't know. It's just kind of I don't know what to call it, what to say. I'm just not.
I
Ellie,
think
can,
it's just
can you
kind of,
share any insight into what goes on to make, okay, so the budget is like, accepted and approved, but then based on what the towns said for us to put in for personnel ends up, well, Justin, let's go back. Why was it so much higher?
okay.
What?
So the way the personnel budget stuff works these days is, the compensation scale is set by local bylaw.
Right.
So I don't control what staff makes. And the hours I do control. So I input hours into my schedule, do the math, and crank it out in a spreadsheet and figure out how much I need to pay people per position.
Mm-hmm.
Matt has a spreadsheet that does the exact same thing that the entire municipality uses, and his always cranks out a higher number than mine. And I think that that's because they kind of consider it standard best practice to over budget personnel in case you do have a need to call in, because it's easier
Right.
to turn back money
Right.
into free cash
Okay.
for the following fiscal year than it is to show up at fall town meeting and say we under budgeted personnel and ask the town to vote for an increase to your line item.
Okay. Yeah, which makes sense. Now I'm just gonna just raise a question as a taxpayer. So we're paying taxes based on X amount for the annual budget. And then the money goes back in, what money isn't spent goes back into the general account. But the taxpayers never see, there's never a time where it says, oh, we'll decrease the tax this year. That never, ever, ever happens. So if the library is just one budget, look at all the other parts of the municipality. I'm just a little flustered by it. That's
Yeah.
all. I just,
The free cash then goes back into like capital projects and improvement things. It still has to be appropriated to the following town meeting. So like the money doesn't just disappear or go into a.
no, I understand
No,
that.
right.
It's just that we never, ever, ever, as taxpayers, see a decrease, ever.
Yeah, that's above my
Anyhow,
pay grade. I'm
that's all
sorry.
I have to say. I'm done. That was my soapbox. I'm done.
That's probably universally true, right?
Yeah, exactly. So let's just move on. It is what it is. There's nothing you can do, right? So just move on.
There hasn't been a lot of movement in any of the other accounts, building donation account, building donations with interest account, the trust fund, all of those. The interest hasn't been tabulated yet because we tabulated at the end of the fiscal year, and it doesn't make sense to like reconcile interest for June, mid-June, and then do it again in 15 days on July 1st. So those numbers will be, I'll present like an end of fiscal year report once all the dust settles. We have until July 15th to close everything out. And then we can, like do a retrospective over like what the whole year was like. Grants, I spent some money on books that was approved last month. But everything else here is still pretty much the same. We've got all our money squirreled away in different piles.
As it should be. Just ask the squirrels.
There's one Baker and Taylor invoice I'm sitting on for $650 that I'm waiting to see if the general fund will be able to eat after we do our last electricity bill, phone bill, and canopy bill. And I'm hoping that we'll be right sort of there at that medium and I can be done spending grant money for the year.
Okay.
Except for on a mouse, which will come up later.
I have a theory on that. Okay. Go ahead. Are we good?
Yep.
Okay. Good. Circulation, I'm always interested in that. I think it's
So
really.
Did start breaking up digital books, digital audio, and digital magazines.
I see that,
and that's good. Thank you.
That's
So now we
really
can compare.
interesting. Thanks for that, Ellie, for that
So
suggestion.
It's no surprise we circulate a lot of digital audio because we've been pumping the $600 a month from grants into that CPC mechanism, which will carry over into next year but be funded out of the general fund budget. We'll also be carrying, a $600 a month digital book budget out of CPCs next year, so that should also increase. And other than that, circulation is good. It's continuing to increase since the pandemic. It's if you take just physical circulation alone, it looks like we don't circulate as much as we did 10 to 20 years ago, but whenever you combine the two, we're moving in a very forward direction.
Absolutely.
The door count was a bit low, but it always is. In May, June's door count will be a very different story, I promise you. And we still haven't popped the circulating more digital than physical yet. They're just right there competing neck and neck with each other. 3,085 physical items and 3,060 digital.
I have to just comment that somehow the digital loan that I had requested suddenly appeared in Libby for me the very next day.
I probably know how that happened.
And I returned it early. So someone else can have it.
One thing I want to push in July, once I have the capacity to do it, is do some training and try to get some videos out on how to make the most use of Libby and integrate other library consortiums into it. Because unless you've got 8 library consortiums on your Libby screen, 8 library cards, then you're doing it wrong. Because you can use every consortium in Massachusetts by logging in as a CWMR's guest, and I don't think enough people know that. And if more people did know that, it would alleviate some of the pressure on having to meet that demand with our local budget.
I didn't realize that. I have two different accounts with Libby, but I didn't realize I could access all of that, everything.
I made a blog post once, but it's not enough. It needs the more permanent presence on the website somewhere, and some kind of public outreach.
Yeah.
We hand flyers out to people at the library whenever they're signing up for library cards, showing them what all consortiums they can use. So like the new adopters know about it, but like people have been using Libby for ages, no.
I think that's true, because you've mentioned that to me too, but then when I go on, I don't necessarily know how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
You say you had 3,060 digital loans. And then if you add up 551, 926, and 131, it adds up to 1,608.
The only
So,
thing that we include in
I
this
know there's
table is
something
what
that I
circulates
never get
locally.
quite right. So spit it out again for me.
So the circulation report that I highlighted here, the whole graph, that's just to Douglas residents. The total is just what we have loaned, regardless to
So
who.
this is for everybody.
Yeah. So that would include my family because we're Southerners.
Justin, I like the the breakout of the loans to Douglas patrons. That's helpful too.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's the way I've always reported.
Want to see everything, No, but so the physical and digital is for everyone.
Yeah.
And
that's regardless of who borrowed it, whether they live in Athol or Boston.
And then the circulation report is just for Douglas.
Indeed.
But don't we get excited about how much we lend to everybody because you did that great report a couple of months ago that shows how well you select shit or not that stuff books materials.
You can edit that.
and that this many people for everyone has borrowed this many of Douglas's materials.
I find it fascinating, and I think most of us literary people fascinating, but finance committee doesn't find it fascinating. They want to know how much we're spending, like the cost per circ we're getting for Douglas residents.
Yeah, but
how much taxpayer money is going back to them.
If you explain it too, that you get some money, don't you get some money from the MBLC for circulating a lot to other libraries?
We do, but it's a pittance.
Well, make it bigger. I mean, it was impressive when you reported on it a couple of months ago, and I liked it.
I mean, I'm happy to start reporting circulation statistics that way if the trustees want them that way, because they're much more exciting statistics.
So what are you suggesting?
Nothing.
Because I do like the pulling out the Douglas patrons so that we have that. But don't we have like the total loans? Isn't that's everybody from every place that's asking for loans, right?
Isn't the corollary how many we borrow from other libraries?
Yeah, we're very much a net lender rather than a net borrower.
And that's why we get some money back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's something else.
Well.
Here's something else for you to weed out, Justin, just bringing that up. How much are we borrowers in your spare time?
What, from other libraries?
Yes.
that would be included in the May circulation report or the circulation report, right?
I
Those are
don't think,
for
I
people.
don't think it's teased out.
I don't usually tease it out in my monthly circulation reports. I tease it out in the annual reports.
Okay. Well, you don't have to do it now. I'm just,
No, it takes 2 seconds.
all right.
I mean, as long as we're doing Zoom anyway, I might as well show you the neat stuff. Oh, that's right. I want to do statistics for individual libraries. Douglas Simon Fairfield Public Library. And I think it's just even the default view.
Oh, look at that.
I mean, we have
I need to
powerful
renew
tools.
my
nowadays.
library card too.
Nice.
What's this week? Circulation. And the default view is the past 3 months.
Okay.
And this only does print. It doesn't do digital because Libby is an entirely separate system.
Okay.
But where does it show our network transfers? I mean, we can see the value of items that are circulating from libraries.
Yeah.
There is the. I know somewhere there's a link.
9946.
That's the
Oh,
total
really?
Is that your
circulation.
library or is that? Or is
Yeah,
that
this is at our library.
for Douglas residents or for
For everybody.
everybody?
Circulation of your library's material.
And this is taking forever to load.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's all right.
No, that's okay. But it'd be interesting to do that when you have nothing else to do, Justin.
Yeah, I mean, like I can tease these circulation reports out however the board wants. I've always assumed that you would want, Douglas patrons only, since that's what we use to justify our tax appropriation. But if you would rather me start tooling these to what we circulate totally, then I mean, I'm happy to make that shift.
That would be good it would be good for comparison, if nothing else, to see how Douglas participates versus everybody else, if you know what I mean. But that would be good.
All right, next month I'll do that.
Sweet. All right.
Y'all want the rest of my director's report now?
Yes. Go,
Okay.
go.
So last month I was talking about how we wanted to make things appear in the catalog as soon as we ordered them, but Baker and Taylor customer support has really dragged their feet and been not very responsive about training us on the grids and the mark profiles. So much so that I accidentally kicked a hornet's nest when I told, CWMR's staff that we're pulling the plug on the project for now. And they, like the upper echelon of CWMR's and the upper echelon of Baker and Taylor management, had words and got into a fight. But it doesn't matter because the project is still on hold because we don't have time to devote to it anymore. We had time to devote in May. We'll have time to devote again probably in August. But, right now we're busy. But we will come back to that. We replaced our phones and we got an answering service now in place. So if patrons call when we're on the phone with another patron, they don't get a busy signal. They can actually leave us a message, which has been noticed and appreciated. And it's going to increase the phone bill by all of about $6 a month. We should have flicked this switch a long time ago. It's just not a switch I was aware that was there to flick. We are interviewing applicants. We had 15 applications. I'm interviewing 6 people this week and hoping to send offers of employment on Thursday. so that we can get, the paperwork, onboarding, and all that done next week and shoot for our expansion on July 8th is when I'm hoping to change the hour signs and start opening the doors at 9 and keep the library open until 8. And I don't know if it's like a reflection of the job economy out there or not, but I mean, we've got master's degree applicants, we've got bachelor's degree applicants, we've got a huge pool of overqualified and local applicants. It's great.
Wow.
We're
Excellent.
I'm looking forward to hiring 2 people who will complement each other skill wise, so that
Exactly.
in those new evening hours we can have some more, repertoire of programming, basically, and services.
It's exciting.
I've
I'm
got a
excited.
question about,
Okay.
I have a question about the interviewing. Is Gail or Deb interviewing with you?
Deb and Rebecca helped me winnow the applications. So we kind of sorted them into green light, red light, yellow light folders, interviewing all the green light folders, and Gail is kind of listening in as much as she can because it was just me and her today and yesterday.
They're in-person interviews, though.
Yes, no, we're not interviewing anybody digitally. Facility tour is part of the interview too, because they're interviewing us just as much as we're interviewing them. So I want to show them the space, what we're planning to do, and kind of give them the heads up that yes, we're kind of in flux, things are changing. You're not stepping into a well-established position, you're stepping into a brand new experimental position. That if it turns out after a year we're not getting our money's worth, we're going to look to stretch hours and just be open more, instead of having this condensed schedule where we have this much coverage. So that's kind of a disclaimer I'm giving every applicant. And they also need to see the bathroom before they commit to working here.
Okay. Yeah.
Sad but true.
Yeah.
We had our meetings in person because then we could meet them once they're hired more officially than just going in there,
I'm sure Rebecca will do a profile and a bio for each one on the Instagram account.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And a lot of these applicants have a lot of social media and marketing and administrative experience too.
So how many are you hiring? I probably haven't written this down yet.
I'm
So
only going to need to hire 2. I was expecting we would probably have to chop the positions up, since it's 5 to 8 Monday through Thursday. But no, everyone who I'm interviewing is able to cover the entire schedule.
Hey, big boy.
Okay. Good.
Very cool.
So we'll have new names to introduce next week.
Cool. Very exciting.
It's exciting and terrifying.
I know.
Any other questions on applications? So Rebecca wants to buy this mouse. And I was hoping that y'all would just give me the blessing to buy it with some of the money that you approved last month for books, but buy this instead. But actually, it was her husband's idea. Jed pointed out that since we're the Simon Fairfield Public Library, we should have a field mouse as a mascot.
And you know what his name should be?
Fairfield?
Simon.
No, Simon.
Simon?
Simon
Oh,
the Fairfield.
yes.
Simon the Field Mouse. Seriously.
Why do you need the mouse? If you have the picture, why do you need the mouse?
Because they want to do things. She wants to do things like, arrange it like with books in things, have it in shots so that it's kind of like a library mascot that follows around, what's going on the social media accounts.
It'll be recognizable, almost like a logo. So that makes sense to me.
That's cute. I like it.
And she wanted one that has like little arms so you can position it reading books and looking at posters and charts and things and, take it around places and do things with it. So,
And so what's this going to benefit the library? How is this going to benefit the library? I don't get it, but
it's
that's
publicity,
me.
marketing, it's,
Marketing.
people see that, they think it's cute. It makes them connect to the library, on that level. And it just increases people's engagement and awareness.
And kids love plush toys.
They
Right.
like what?
Well,
Kids
hopefully
love
kids are
those
going to be on the
plushes.
Instagram account.
Well, they'll see it in
Yeah, and I
the
haven't
building.
looked at the Instagram account, but that's my fault, I guess, I'm just
Mom.
too old for all of this.
That will be,
But it's just a way to give things some personality, because the more personality she pumps into these posts, the more engagement they get. Like, she got like 50 likes on the one of the most recent things, and I was just like, okay, all right, you're the social media queen now. I'm stepping back.
That's great.
I was actually going to suggest buying 2 of them, but with the previous discussion, I think I'll back off.
I think we're gonna have to buy a life-size mouse costume for someone to wear.
Oh God. Oh, yes.
What, for Danielle to wear?
Oh, well, Justin and I can tell
You'll
you
have to dress up
I
at
can
every
tell
event.
you a story, but I won't. But going way back to one of the highest ranked Webster town officials wearing a Blues Clues costume for me in one of our book fairs, and he he almost asphyxiated because he overheated. So
Costumes can be hot.
All right,
I'm not gonna
we
go.
won't go that far.
very hot.
I love it. I absolutely love it. It's kind of like you know, I can think of all kinds of promo things, but
Yeah.
I'm all for it. Like, where is he? Where's Simon?
Yep.
Simon the Field Mouse.
Yeah. So do we need to put a motion for it?
I guess we do.
Do we? I don't know. I mean, like, the money's already been approved to spend on books through the end of the fiscal year, and there's $797 of that left.
I will hear. I'm not gonna. All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve spending $25.95 from the book budget for a plush mouse for a
Oh my gosh.
So
Sorry,
moved.
it's a little funny.
for whatever.
To spend from what? What is it we're spending it from? The book
Books.
budget?
The book budget.
LIG-MEG is where it would be coming from.
LIGMEG.
Okay.
Do we need to vote on this seriously? Tell
Well,
me. I
I
need to hear
think
from
so.
people. Otherwise, I'm going to say to Justin, just go spend it.
Apropos of nothing, someone did put out a survey to the CWMR's library directors asking, like, how they spend their LIG-MEG money and whether it requires trustee approval. And I'm the only one.
Pirate that asks. You're the one who asks.
Yep.
I used to always ask my trustees for LIG-MEG money.
I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
saying that we need to change it. I'm just saying that's not how it works in most libraries.
Well,
Okay.
I've thought
the
maybe
trustees have to
we
do
should
something.
only do it if it's above a certain amount or something, like way above 25.95.
Right.
Yeah.
Woo! Now you
That's a
got my head in
discussion
the
for
clouds,
another day.
Kate. I can't figure that high. Come on. Can we move forward? Or
Are we voting on this or not?
That's what I'm asking. Are we okay? I'm just saying, I
Well,
don't think
did somebody make a motion or not? Nobody made a motion.
so. I'm not saying we need a motion.
Okay,
All right.
so I'm gonna cross that out here.
Then we'll move on. Justin, tell Rebecca to purchase that cute little plush mouse, and we're going to name him Simon.
Simon.
Or here's a promotional thing. Help to name the mouse. This is the library's new mascot. He needs a name.
So it's
And
I
either
would
gonna be
recommend against
Justin
that
or
path because it
Simon.
will turn into Mousy McMouse face immediately.
all right, then let's just
That-
name him Simon. Okay.
Okay, so on July 8th, we're having a big meeting. We're meeting with the fire department, police department, maybe public health nurse, public health workers from the Blackstone Valley Community Partnership to create a series of community life-saving skills for the public that will host at the library and air on cable. This idea kind of stemmed from a staff Narcan training we did last month, and they really wanted us to do a public Narcan training, but the struggle has been overcoming the public stigma of, like helping addicts, even though most of the people who overdose are, old people who accidentally popped their medicine twice. So we wanted to kind of bake it in with some other things. So we're wanting to do Narcan training, CPR training, fire extinguisher training, which we thought we knew how to use fire extinguishers until we had in-house training, and turns out we had no idea. They're not for putting out fires, FYI.
Okay.
And tick mosquito bite labs, combating hoarding disorder, which is apparently a big local problem. Smoke and carbon monoxide awareness, general home safety, reducing wildfire risks, and situational awareness, like how to keep yourself safe in, parking lots, walking in the woods, public notification systems, how to report emergencies, and how to assemble home emergency kits. So this is probably going to be like a really long series of programs that we can eke out over a period of time as a public safety health initiative led by the library.
That's great.
So
Can you tell me what Narcan stands for?
it's just the name of a drug. I don't think it stands
It's
for
a
anything.
drug. That's what
I
they
think it's like generic name is
shoot into you
naloxone.
if you've overdosed.
Narcotic.
To reverse overdoses.
Narcotic.
To reverse overdoses from people who have overdosed on opioids.
Reverse.
And anything else.
No,
Maybe
just
not.
opioids. It won't help someone who's overdosed on something that's not an opioid, but it won't hurt them either. So the recommendation is if you see someone, having an overdose, you just administer the Narcan. And you may save a life or you may not accomplish anything, but Good Samaritan laws protect individuals and institutions regardless.
So will they be handing out those injections to everyone who attends the meeting?
They're not injections, they're nasal sprays.
Well,
No,
will they be handing them out is my question.
I don't know. It'll probably depend on how many there are because I think they're expensive. Everyone on staff got one. We have one in our AED now, and we have some spares in the circulation office. I hope we never need to use them, but they are there. And they did give us, permission to hand them out if need be to people who wanted them or needed them, the spares. Because they came from the Blackstone Valley Community Partnership public health nurse.
I think that's great. I think that's a wonderful public service that the library can be a part of, hopefully a major part of, and work in saving lives.
Yeah, I love that.
Everyone should be trained in CPR. Everyone.
Down the line, CWMRs has added new report options, which you just saw some of. And now we have the ability to see what has circulated in Douglas in the last X number of years, instead of just saying what has circulated in the last X number of years. So running a report to see what hasn't circulated locally in the last 5 years has shown what people locally like to read and what they don't like to read. Our nonfiction collection is basically here just to service other libraries. It's not moving here. And there's a lot of audiobooks, paperbacks, there's a lot of things that, we're holding on to basically to service other libraries rather than our own. Given our space limitations, we can't afford to hold on to those things. So I'm having we have a volunteer through the Senior Tax Work-Off program, Margie. She's wonderful. And she's helping me weed through some of these things so that we can, make room for things that are relevant to our community. And the Oktoberfest book sale ought to be pretty flush with stuff that, I moved up to the attic for apparently no good reason. And the last thing on my director's report is not something that we need to take action on now, but I want to put the bug in everyone's ear. Ellie put the bug in my ear a couple months ago. And it's something kind of want to flesh out this year, but we'd like to reclass Rebecca's position as an assistant director next year. It doesn't require any action until next budget season. It would require trustee approval. We would have to create the job description, submit it to Matt, probably move her up one step on the compensation scale. So she would be an OA2 instead of an OA1 or whatever the equivalent thing is. But, she's proven to be thorough, conscientious, motivated, passionate. And one takeaway from the MLS conference that I was too sick to actually attend, but watched some Zoom meetings from, was that you should always have at least one person ready, willing, and able to take over your role and perform it better.
Yeah.
And that's her.
Well, I will make a motion that, do we need to vote on it? I will just say, let's put that on the agenda for next month.
Well,
Put it on the agenda for November, probably.
Yeah, you don't want to start talking about it now, and it's, I don't know if all the staff watch these great TV shows that we're on, but it's probably, I don't know what. It might be premature. I don't know if Justin's
You think? Okay, that's fine.
But it's already a policy. It isn't it already a policy that the children's librarian is second if the director isn't there?
We don't have quite sure it's written. For that.
I've read it somewhere. I'm pretty sure we have it, unless you got rid of it. But it used to be the policy that the children's librarian was in charge if the director wasn't there.
Well, it may be just creating the position of assistant director that would be in charge when the director isn't there and have other.
Yeah, I think that takes a lot of discussion.
Yeah, okay.
It's a very big change.
Okay, so we will how will we handle this, Ellie, as far as keeping it alive on the agenda?
I think when Justin starts working on I don't know what fiscal year we're in this, starting July 1st. Are we in
2025?
2025. So when the budget starts its process in November, December for FY26, that's when this would take place. So that's when we would start talking about it. It would be the budget. So put it on your little color things. My
little colored thing?
Yeah, well, Justin's colored thing. I'm pointing to him on my computer.
Oh,
It'd be
I crashed
creating
out
a new.
for a moment. I'm just getting
You
back
mean my
in
grandson
set
or
up
my
right
great
now.
grandson? No, just kidding.
Yeah, but he has those colorful calendars that remind him that he needs to start working on a budget for FY 26 in November or December. I don't know, when does Matt
But-
usually request all of that?
February.
But you have to wait that long before you can oh, because it has to be a
We've
new.
already done the budget for 25,
That's true, yeah.
so it
And she
couldn't
is
go.
archivist for this year. And that's her job
Okay.
description. I cut out right as Betty was asking her question. But right now, we do not have an assistant director. Whenever I started, we had a folder of job descriptions, and there were like 3 or 4 different job descriptions for each position and you couldn't tell which one was actually the real one because it was apparent that a lot of work had been done on drafting, but either they weren't finalized or it was never actually put into writing what was finalized.
We never had an assistant director, but we had someone who would take over if the director wasn't there.
Mhm.
I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah, but this would be, he would have to write a job description for this position, right?
It'd be
Or-
creating a new, it'd be
Unless
creating,
Betty
it'd be
finds
creating,
this,
right? You'd be creating a new position.
right.
Yes.
That's correct. You're right.
So it would have to go before town meeting.
Well, it'd also have to go before us. We'd have to approve it.
Yeah, the trustees would have to approve it, and then we would have to put it to town meeting.
So we'll have to, yeah, we have to be ready for May. Next May. All right.
Is my screen still sharing? I can't tell if it picked
Yeah,
up.
it
You're sharing.
Well, no,
I'm-
no, not the writing part. We just see you.
Oh, okay. Let me fix that. Share screen.
Yeah, and I'm
Use system window capture to share my director's report. There we go.
that
I
looks
cannot wait
better.
to get a new computer. It's gonna
Not
be
that I
great.
don't like looking at your face, Justin, but
Well, we see you over here, but then we see this stuff.
exactly. You got it, Ellie.
It's back. Hooray.
All right. Let's move on to accessibility next steps.
I talked with Matt this morning, and to put it as diplomatically as possible, he indicated that there are some kinks that need ironed out in the town's relationship with the firm before he puts another project on their lap.
All right.
But I asked him if we should be sniffing up other trees or if it was still, worth sniffing up this tree. And he said, still confident that this is the best path forward. It's just, they've got some ironing out to do before they're ready for another project.
I can hear that. I understand that. All right. So, basement renovations, let's move on to that.
The archive has been put back together. We're going to move the CD archive that we have up here down there soon, just to get that big shelf out of the inside of the door, and find another way to display our book club books. Next week, she's going to organize the furnace room and make us a detailed supply list in the process, so we have a good list of what we have, where it is, how it needs to be procured, what levels of stock we want to keep, all those official things that we've never done before. And I'm slowly, as my back allows, moving the Friends things back into the Friends room, and also sort of organizing our weeds there to sort of create the bones of the next book sale. And we moved the staff fridge and some of our kitchen items in there into a corner as well, where there used to be pallets, which we don't need anymore because the floors never get wet because we fixed all that. So I'm hoping the room can double duty as a bit of a break area, like where staff keeps their food and backpacks and whatnot, instead of spreading it all out all over the circ room. I'm hoping to move the coffee pot down there to get it out from right there. So the next step will be to get Deb moved into the old storage room. Before we can do that, we'll need to install a few electrical outlets because there's only one in there right now. But that's pretty much all that needs done. Brian LaValle wants to scrub the boards on top and refinish them just to keep dust and wood debris from falling down every time someone is stomping around upstairs. But we can accomplish that pretty quick and pretty cheap, and worrying about the soundproofing and the finishing touches at a later time. That will leave nothing in the central basement area except for the alarm panels, the security station, and our router and switch. How the computers communicate with CWMRs. So if we could either put a screen in front of those or move them into another room, then we would have, an empty new public space, which I think it should be public space because people have to walk through it to get to the program room. If we do renovate, it'll be like kind of an open landing space. So my inclination right now is to make it a computer lab, or at least put some tables down there and the printer workspace so that people can come use it. Because right now we have multiple patrons who vie to set up and work upstairs. So we've got, a patron who comes in regularly to use the team room upstairs. We've got others who set up in the book club area where the DVDs are, and we have to put little signs out saying, there's going to be a library program here at 6:30, so you got to clear out. That would mitigate that because they would have a space to do what they're doing instead of using other people's spaces. But we're not there yet. So first step is to get Deb moved in, and if anyone else has ideas they want to chime in with in the meantime, I am all ears.
I think it sounds like you guys have it pretty well thought through, and I look forward to seeing the finished or semi-finished project.
I have a question about Deb in the storage room. Is it heated so that she's warm?
Yes. It's actually more heated than the central room because that's where the mini split is. If you want the central room to get heat or air conditioning, you have to leave the doors open because the mini splits are in the program room, in the archive, and in the storage room.
Good.
And along with the stuff that's in that space, a lot of the things that are in the program room will be moving into there with her too, which will open up room in that space. And we're also going to be getting rid of the baseboards since they don't do anything anymore. That's part of Brian LaValle's removing the old radiator system project.
Oh, good. Okay.
And it doesn't seem like a lot of space, but 4 inches on either side of the walls is a lot of space. And it would mean, just there'll be more room down there. And along that vein, no one can remember using the stove since before the pandemic. I used to use it to make ramen noodles. I don't eat those anymore. We use it as a shelf. That's all it has been for 4 years. So we kind of just want to get rid of it.
Sounds good.
I didn't hear that last 2 sentences that you said.
So we want to get rid of the stove in the programming room.
Oh, stove and
the oven.
Is that written down here somewhere? Oh, yes, it is. Okay,
right
got
there.
it. I'll just follow by that. That's good.
Okay, so moving on to outdoor brickwork.
Build Max should have a quote for us by the end of the summer. I told them there's not a rush since it wouldn't be going on anything until next fiscal year's capital plan anyway.
Okay, on to Mass Save.
We had a rep evaluate the building last week. There are no incentives for windows, although he said he wished there were. But he is going to prepare a quote for upgrading the lights to be more energy efficient and also provide more light. He thought our lights were kind of dim. And said that, like with the things they have now, we can have more light and use less power. And there'll be some state incentives to cover it. There will be some cost associated with it, but I have no idea how much until we actually get his report back.
All right, that's good. Something came from it. All right, so under other.
We're removing the radiators and hardware in July. That'll be something that needs to happen on Fridays. Want him to quote out, and this will probably end up being another capital project fodder, but the basement ceilings, where Deb and Rebecca and the friends room are, those things can just be kind of scrubbed and finished to make the original underside of the floorboards shine. It'll look classic, it'll look good. But the drop tiles that are in the central room are really, really low. We cannot put any shelving in there because they're so low. And the ones in the program room are a little bit higher, but they're also like dingy and falling apart and crumbly. So he thinks those all need replaced. So he's going to prepare a quote for us to do that at some point. But he's got other things to fix first. He has to replace all of our sink faucets, and he needs to replace our shutoff valves. We've discovered that none of our shutoff valves work anymore. They're rusted and
Oh,
sealed.
God.
So the only way to work on any of our receptacles is to shut off water to the entire building.
Oh.
He felt like that should be his next priority.
Oh, my. Yeah, I think so. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, this maintenance and repair budget is going to open up a lot of capacity to fix things. It's exciting. I really feel like we're pulling back a rubber band and just getting ready to let it go.
Oh, my goodness. We got to keep this going. Fix all this stuff. Yeah. All right.
And that's all I've got for building stuff this year, well, month.
All right. Great. So moving on to under grants capital campaign.
There's been
Uh,
absolutely no movement since the last report because I haven't reconciled interest and no new donations have come in.
right. I have a I have some money in my computer room for the donation jars, but I can't put that in. I'll put it in.
Next month.
Yeah, next month for the next new year. Yep. Under other, Rebecca and Minkin's Downtown Augmented Reality Initiative. We didn't get any
That
further.
was going to be sponsored by like a really like and funded by a really heavy hitting like research initiative out of Clark University, but the person who was spearheading that project left, so the project is dead.
Okay. So under
It was a
LRP
cool
update.
idea though.
So
was.
what is all of that? Is this the first time I've heard about it, or did we talk about it before, or?
We talked about it briefly last month. It was where they were wanting to make a tablet that you could go around, point it at different places in downtown Douglas, and swipe through and see what it looked like
Yeah.
through different
Right.
eras, and then add your own stories to them.
Who's Minka?
She's a member of my sci-fi book club, who is also a Clark University historical researcher, artist, just general amazing person, and has also been working with Rebecca to digitize things. She's been letting Rebecca take some of our things to their digitization lab where they have better equipment than we have here. Which is
Okay.
one of those serendipitous relationships, which has worked out very good for us.
Nice.
LRP updates.
Most of our long range plan checklist was getting the budget to do things, which we have done. So now it's just a matter of doing them and delegating down things. And, you know, the big thing is like creating capital plans. That's what I want to start on doing once I have the capacity after I've thrown a lot of these balls I'm juggling to new staff.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, so moving on to friends. Auction planning.
That's what we're doing. No, July, whatever it is. I think I put it in the minutes last week. I mean, that we just approved. But it's in July sometime. I think it's the second Saturday in July. And anybody that wants to come to it, it's a Zoom meeting at 10 in the morning on a Saturday, second Saturday, and we'd love it. You know, that's all.
Okay.
Oh man, I can tell you what it is in 2 seconds. I
No,
was
you're
trying
right
to
there.
search my phone for Friends, but the Fiber Art Friends that meets every other Thursday is July 13th from 10, July 13th at 10.
Yeah, so that's the second Saturday, right?
Yep.
Yes, it is.
All right, we're good with that. Any other old business? Hearing none. New business? Hearing none. Our next meeting is July 22nd, 5 p.m. Next item on the agenda is to adjourn. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Just tell me what time it is when we do this. I don't see it on my computer at all.
July 22nd?
No, the
6:13.
time. What is it?
6:13.
6:13, okay.
Second,
I'll
Danny,
move that.
second is a Monday, isn't it? July 23rd, our next meeting, which is a Tuesday.
There you go.
So it's what,
July 23rd.
July 23rd?
And right now it's gonna be 15
Six.
minutes.
6:14, yeah. You've got such a nice smile there, Dawn.
Away.
Okay, I move that we adjourn.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
standing vote.